AI agents for ads sound like it's only for big companies? Startups are a core part of Hikari's world at Omneky. Before, these kinds of tools and approaches to building brand were limited to those with big budgets and tons of people to execute it, right? Which is what makes AI agents and the idea of a generative experience management platform like Omneky's so intriguing. Startups can afford to iterate ads like they iterate code. Even hyper-targeting is within reach. AI is a startup's game, and in advertising, the field is being leveled.
This hyper targeting benefits startups. It actually, like, hyper targeting isn't that necessarily that valuable for a big brand that already has incredible distribution. Everyone knows their brand. It's really that startup that's just starting that needs to find its first 100 customers, first 1,000 customers. That hyper targeting is incredibly valuable because that's how they can get their first customers. That's how they can start generating revenue and growing their business. And without that, it tends to not benefit. It tends to favor the companies already have a brand established. They don't need to, personalize their brand because it's already kind of well known. And so, yes, regardless of what happens, I think creative is still the most important thing when it comes to advertising to marketers. It is the biggest lever for growth. I think in some ways the inability to do really fine targeting has benefited our business because creative is even more important now. It's the only lever that marketers have when it comes to driving higher performance because there's little, fewer levers when it comes to that hyper targeting of audiences.
How do you envision AI evolving, let's say just on a startup level, which is a great one, because the assumption when they have a lot of data and a lot of understanding, it's a little not easier, but there's a path already created. How do you work with startups to create like truly unique personalized content at scale rather than sort of slight variations, or they might get lazy and get into templated designs?
No, I think AI is actually more potentially like more valuable for startups than I think it is for incumbents. I mean, historically, the barriers for entry for running an effective advertising campaign has been so expensive. To create good content, you used to have to hire an expensive agency, creative agency, and to run an effective advertising campaign, you had to hire an expensive advertising agency, and you had to give them 10 to 20% of your marketing budget, or potentially even higher percentage of your advertising budget to kind of get your initial set of customers, or definitely, once you have your first set of customers, to kind of scale beyond that. And so, but generative AI lowers the barriers so that anybody with a compelling idea really could start advertising, start generating effective content with fairly flexible pricing. Right, you could run a you could run an effective advertising campaign. Potentially, right? As something as small as $100 budget, you can generate some effective creative and run that as an ad and get potentially, depending, get dozens of customers depending on the price point of your product, and then kind of scale from there. The entry fee, the entry ticket for
Right.
for running an advertising campaign historically was much higher than that. And so I do think that technology generally, I feel like the arc of technology has always been kind of democratizing. It's empowered, given more power to people, and I think this technology is no different.